Welcome, dear listener, to Sleeping Researcher, your tranquil space for gentle science narration, designed to guide your mind toward restful sleep. Here, we explore fascinating topics from the world of science, softly and slowly, so you can relax and drift peacefully. I'd like to also first thank the first few subscribers of this channel. It means a lot to me. My deepest thanks to you few subscribers. Before we begin our journey into the mysteries of consciousness, I invite you to like this video and follow the footsteps of my subscribers and subscribe to the channel. By doing so, you help support this quiet corner of curiosity where calm meets knowledge in a soothing embrace. Tonight, we will gently explore the nature and origin of consciousness, a profound question that has intrigued thinkers for centuries. What is consciousness? Where does it come from? How does the simple flicker of awareness arise from the complex workings of the brain? These questions touch the very essence of what it means to be alive and aware. As we delve into this topic, we will move slowly through scientific insights and philosophical reflections, allowing your mind to absorb each thought with ease and calm. Together, we will unwind the layers of consciousness like a soft unfolding of petals bathed in morning light. So, settle into a comfortable position, take a deep breath, and prepare to embark on a quiet journey into the heart of awareness itself. Let us begin. Imagine waking up each day to a world filled with colors, sounds, and sensations, all woven together by an invisible thread, your consciousness. It is this profound yet elusive experience that shapes our reality, allowing us to perceive, reflect, and exist. Despite centuries of philosophical inquiry and modern scientific advances, consciousness remains one of the most enigmatic puzzles in the natural world. What exactly is this inner awareness that defines our very being? How does it arise from the biological complexity of the brain? These questions invite us into a gentle exploration of the nature and origin of consciousness, a journey that touches the deepest corners of science and philosophy alike. As we embark on this path, let us open our minds with calm curiosity, ready to uncover insights that may forever change how we understand ourselves and the universe around us. Consciousness is often described as the subjective experience of being, the feeling of I am that accompanies every thought, sensation, and emotion. It is not merely a passive state, but an active, dynamic process that integrates information from various sensory inputs, memories, and cognitive functions. Scientists and philosophers have long debated whether consciousness can be fully explained through physical processes alone, or if it transcends material explanations. Advances in neuroscience have revealed intricate networks of neurons firing in synchrony, suggesting that consciousness emerges from complex brain activity. Yet the precise mechanisms remain elusive, sparking ongoing research and lively discussion. This delicate interplay between mind and matter invites us to consider consciousness as both a biological phenomenon and a profound mystery, bridging the tangible and the intangible in ways we are only beginning to comprehend. The origin of consciousness is equally compelling, tracing back through evolutionary history to the earliest forms of life. While simple organisms respond to their environment in basic ways, the emergence of conscious awareness appears linked to the development of increasingly sophisticated nervous systems. This evolutionary perspective suggests that consciousness may have gradually arisen as an adaptive advantage, enabling creatures to navigate complex social interactions and environmental challenges. Yet, pinpointing the moment when consciousness first emerged remains a profound challenge. It prompts us to explore not only the biological substrates, but also the philosophical implications of what it means to be aware. By weaving together insights from biology, psychology, and philosophy, we deepen our appreciation for consciousness as a phenomenon both ancient and ever-present in the tapestry of life. In exploring the nature and origin of consciousness, we also confront the boundaries of human knowledge and perception. Our subjective experiences are inherently private, accessible only to ourselves, which makes studying consciousness from an objective standpoint uniquely difficult. This has led to innovative approaches in science, including the use of brain imaging, computational models, and interdisciplinary theories aimed at bridging the gap between experience and explanation. Each discovery brings us closer to unraveling the mystery, yet also reveals new layers of complexity. As we continue to delve into these questions, we prepare to enter a realm where science meets philosophy, and where understanding consciousness may illuminate not just the workings of the brain, but the essence of what it means to be alive. Consciousness, while deeply familiar to each of us as the foundation of our waking life, remains an elusive concept that defies simple characterization. At its most basic level, consciousness can be thought of as awareness, the capacity to perceive and respond to the environment. Yet this definition only scratches the surface. Scientists and philosophers alike have long grappled with the distinction between mere wakefulness, such as the state of being alert, and the richer, more nuanced experience of subjective awareness, or what it feels like to be alive from within. This subjective aspect is often described as qualia, the individual instances of experience that color each moment, such as the redness of a rose with a taste of sweetness. Understanding consciousness thus requires us to explore both the observable phenomena of brain activity and the intangible qualities of inner experience, a duality that challenges the limits of empirical study. As we navigate these definitions, we find that consciousness is not a single uniform entity, but rather a spectrum of states and experiences, each contributing to the rich tapestry of human existence. To further clarify, consciousness may be divided into several layers or levels. At one end, there is basic sensory awareness, the simple detection of stimuli without deeper reflection. Moving beyond this, we encounter self-awareness, the recognition of oneself as a distinct entity, separate from others and the environment. This self-reflective capacity allows for introspection, memory, and planning, and is key to what many consider a more advanced form of consciousness. Additionally, some theories propose that consciousness includes a narrative component, the ongoing story we tell ourselves about our thoughts and experiences, weaving them into a coherent sense of identity over time. These layers suggest that consciousness is dynamic, continuously evolving and shaped by both biological mechanisms and personal history. By unpacking these components, we begin to appreciate the complexity inherent in defining what it truly means to be conscious. The origins of consciousness have sparked debate across disciplines, from neuroscience to philosophy, and even to evolutionary biology. Some researchers suggest that consciousness emerged as an adaptive trait, offering organisms a survival advantage by enabling flexible decision-making and social interaction. Others view it as a fundamental property of certain complex systems, arising naturally when neural networks reach a critical threshold of connectivity and integration. This perspective invites us to consider consciousness not as a binary state, but as a gradient, potentially present in varying degrees across different species, and perhaps even artificial systems. The challenge lies in identifying reliable markers that indicate conscious experience beyond human introspection, a task that pushes the boundaries of current scientific methodology. As we explore these possibilities, we enter a space where empirical evidence and philosophical inquiry intertwine, each informing the other in our quest to uncover consciousness's origins. Various disciplines have contributed to the ongoing discourse on consciousness, each offering unique insights and methodologies. Neuroscience, with its focus on brain activity, employs tools such as functional magnetic resonance imaging and electroencephalography to observe patterns correlated with conscious states. Cognitive science seeks to model the processes underlying perception, attention, and awareness, often incorporating computational frameworks to simulate aspects of consciousness. Philosophy, on the other hand, raises fundamental questions about the nature of experience, the mind-body problem, and the hard problem of consciousness. Why and how physical processes give rise to subjective experience. These perspectives, while distinct, collectively enrich our understanding and highlight the multifaceted nature of consciousness as both a scientific and existential phenomenon. This interdisciplinary dialogue sets the stage for deeper exploration into the mechanisms and meaning of conscious experience. The quest to understand consciousness has a long and varied history, stretching back to ancient philosophical inquiries. Early thinkers such as Plato and Aristotle pondered the nature of the soul and the mind's relation to the body, setting the foundation for centuries of reflection. However, it was René Descartes in the 17th century who crystallized the problem with his famous assertion, "Cogito ergo sum." I think, therefore I am. Descartes introduced a dualistic view, positing a clear distinction between the immaterial mind and the physical body. This separation laid the groundwork for the mind-body problem, which remains central to contemporary debates about consciousness. By framing conscious thought as an indubitable truth, Descartes emphasized the unique, subjective quality of conscious experience. His approach invited subsequent generations to grapple with how something so intimately known can arise from or coexist with the mechanistic workings of the body and brain. This pivotal moment in intellectual history marked a shift from metaphysical speculation toward more rigorous inquiry into the nature of mind and awareness. Moving forward into the 19th and early 20th centuries, the study of consciousness began to intertwine with emerging psychological sciences. William James, often regarded as the father of American psychology, offered a profoundly influential perspective with his notion of consciousness as a continuous stream. Rejecting rigid compartmentalization, James emphasized the fluid, dynamic quality of conscious experience, highlighting how thoughts, sensations, and feelings flow seamlessly into one another. His work acknowledged both the subjective richness and the functional aspects of consciousness, suggesting that awareness serves an adaptive role in navigating the environment. James also explored the variety of conscious states, including attention, emotion, and even altered states such as dreams and hypnosis. This broadened the scope of inquiry beyond mere intellectual activity, recognizing the complexity and variability of conscious life. His integrative approach helped bridge philosophical speculation and empirical investigation, demonstrating how scientific methods could illuminate aspects of conscious experience without reducing it to purely physical terms. Throughout these evolving perspectives, a persistent tension has endured between explaining consciousness in purely physical terms and acknowledging its seemingly irreducible subjective quality. Philosophers such as Thomas Nagel and David Chalmers in the late 20th century revisited this dilemma, articulating what has come to be known as the hard problem of consciousness, the question of why and how physical brain processes generate the feeling of what it is like to be aware. This challenge underscores the limitations of reductionist explanations that focus solely on objective mechanisms. The historical dialogue reveals a landscape where consciousness is simultaneously a biological phenomenon and a deeply personal, experiential reality. The ideas of past thinkers remind us that any attempt to understand consciousness must account for both its observable correlates and its intangible essence. In this way, the intellectual heritage from Descartes through William James continues to inform and inspire contemporary explorations, encouraging a balance between scientific rigor and philosophical depth. The pursuit to understand consciousness scientifically arises from a profound recognition that consciousness is not merely a philosophical curiosity, but a fundamental aspect of our existence with tangible implications. By studying consciousness through empirical methods, we aim to bridge the gap between subjective experience and objective observation, seeking patterns and mechanisms within the brain that correspond with awareness. This endeavor is essential because consciousness shapes how we perceive the world, make decisions, and form memories. It is the foundation of our sense of self and our interaction with the environment. Understanding its nature could illuminate the biological processes underlying mental health and neurological disorders, offering new avenues for diagnosis and treatment. In this sense, consciousness is not an abstract concept, but a vital phenomenon with practical significance. Such scientific inquiry invites interdisciplinary collaboration, integrating insights from neuroscience, psychology, cognitive science, and even physics, all contributing pieces to a complex puzzle. One compelling reason to study consciousness scientifically lies in its potential to transform medicine, particularly in the treatment of brain injuries, psychiatric conditions, and disorders of awareness. For example, patients in comatose or vegetative states challenge clinicians to assess the presence or absence of consciousness, a task fraught with uncertainty. Advances in neuroimaging and electrophysiology have begun to reveal neural signatures that distinguish conscious from unconscious states, improving diagnostic accuracy and informing care decisions. Moreover, exploring consciousness could lead to better understanding and management of conditions such as depression, schizophrenia, and anxiety, where alterations in subjective experience play a central role. By grounding these conditions in biological mechanisms linked to conscious processing, medicine can move towards more targeted and effective interventions. This scientific approach not only deepens our knowledge of the human mind, but also carries profound ethical implications for patient care. The quest to define and measure consciousness thus holds promise for enhancing both the science and compassion of medicine. Beyond medicine, consciousness research profoundly influences the development of artificial intelligence, challenging us to reconsider the boundaries between human and machine. As AI systems grow increasingly sophisticated, questions arise about whether machines could ever possess consciousness or subjective experience. Scientific investigation into the nature of consciousness helps clarify what conditions might be necessary for awareness, such as information integration, self-referential processing, or embodiment. This understanding guides the design of AI systems, informing ethical considerations around their deployment and treatment. If consciousness is identified as an emergent property of certain computational architectures, then the distinction between biological and artificial minds becomes less clear, prompting deep reflection on rights, responsibilities, and the future of sentient technology. Thus, the scientific study of consciousness not only advances technology, but also invites us to revisit the philosophical core of what it means to be aware. Philosophically, the scientific exploration of consciousness offers a rare opportunity to reconcile ancient questions with modern knowledge. For centuries, thinkers have grappled with the mind-body problem, the nature of subjective experience, and the essence of selfhood. By bringing empirical tools to bear on these enduring mysteries, science provides new frameworks and hypotheses that enrich philosophical discourse. This dialogue between disciplines encourages humility and openness, acknowledging the limits of current understanding while pushing boundaries toward deeper insight. Moreover, it challenges reductive materialism by emphasizing the irreducible qualities of experience, inspiring novel theories that respect both the measurable and the ineffable. In this way, the scientific study of consciousness becomes a bridge connecting empirical investigation with existential inquiry, fostering a more holistic appreciation of the human condition. As we continue to explore, these intertwined perspectives promise to reshape our worldview in subtle and profound ways. Among the many challenges that consciousness presents to both science and philosophy, one stands out with particular clarity and depth. This is what philosopher David Chalmers famously termed the hard problem of consciousness. Unlike the easy problems, which involve understanding the mechanisms by which the brain processes information, integrates sensory input, or controls behavior, the hard problem asks why and how subjective experience arises at all. Why is it that certain neural activities are accompanied by a felt inner life, a sense of being, a stream of sensations, emotions, and thoughts that are uniquely personal and inherently private? This question reaches beyond the scope of traditional scientific methods, which excel at describing functions and correlations, but struggle to account for the qualitative nature of experience itself. Chalmers's insight is that explaining the physical processes underlying cognition does not necessarily explain why these processes are accompanied by consciousness or why they feel like anything from the inside. It points to an explanatory gap between objective description and subjective reality, a gap that continues to provoke deep reflection and debate in contemporary philosophy of mind and cognitive science. The hard problem invites us to reconsider the foundations of our understanding of nature. It suggests that consciousness may not be fully reducible to the interactions of neurons and molecules, no matter how detailed our mapping of brain activity becomes. This has led some thinkers to propose that consciousness is a fundamental feature of the universe, akin to space, time, or mass. Others explore the possibility that new scientific principles are required, ones that integrate subjective experience into the fabric of physical theory. Such perspectives challenge the traditional materialist view, which holds that all phenomena can ultimately be explained through physical processes alone. Instead, the hard problem encourages a broader inquiry, one that respects the mystery of experience and acknowledges the limitations of current explanatory frameworks. It also encourages interdisciplinary collaboration, bringing together neuroscientists, philosophers, physicists, and psychologists to grapple with a question that transcends any single domain of knowledge. At its core, the hard problem of consciousness emphasizes the deeply personal nature of experience. While brain imaging and behavioral studies reveal correlations between neural states and conscious states, they do not capture the "what it is like" aspect, the inner qualitative feel that characterizes every moment of awareness. This subjective quality, sometimes called qualia, remains elusive and resistant to objective measurement. The difficulty lies in bridging the gap between third-person observation and first-person experience, between outward description and inward reality. Chalmers' formulation reminds us that consciousness is not just a scientific puzzle, but a profound existential question. It challenges us to explore not only the mechanisms of mind, but also the very essence of being. As we engage with this challenge, we deepen our appreciation for the richness of experience and the subtlety of the phenomena that constitute conscious life. Neuroscience offers a unique lens through which to examine consciousness. By focusing on the intricate workings of the brain, advances in technology such as functional magnetic resonance imaging and electroencephalography have allowed scientists to observe patterns of neural activity that correspond with various conscious experiences. These studies reveal that certain regions of the brain become more active during specific states of awareness, whether that be focused attention, dreaming, or meditative calm. By mapping these neural correlates, researchers can begin to understand how the physical structure and dynamic activity of the brain contribute to the emergence of conscious states. Yet, despite these correlations, the exact nature of how these brain processes produce subjective experience remains an open question. The challenge lies in deciphering how electrochemical signals within networks of neurons translate into the rich tapestry of thoughts, feelings, and sensations that define consciousness. One of the central insights from neuroscience is the recognition that consciousness is not localized to a single brain region, but arises from the complex interplay of multiple systems. The thalamocortical loops, for example, are thought to facilitate the integration of sensory information and the formation of a unified conscious experience. Similarly, the prefrontal cortex plays a vital role in higher order processes such as self-reflection and decision-making, which are intimately tied to the sense of self and awareness. These interconnected networks demonstrate that consciousness is a dynamic process rather than a static entity. This understanding shifts the focus from searching for a single seat of consciousness to exploring how distributed brain activity gives rise to coherent experience. Through this perspective, neuroscience highlights the importance of examining not only individual brain areas, but also their interactions and temporal dynamics. While the study of neural correlates has significantly advanced our knowledge, it also underscores the limits of purely objective approaches to consciousness. The subjective quality of experience, the feeling of redness, warmth, or the taste of sweetness, resists reduction to measurable brain states alone. This has led some theorists to propose that consciousness might be an emergent property of complex neural systems, arising when information is integrated in specific ways. Others suggest that new conceptual frameworks may be necessary to fully capture the essence of conscious experience. Nonetheless, the progress in identifying brain patterns associated with different conscious states provides a vital foundation. It invites a dialogue between empirical research and philosophical inquiry, encouraging a multidisciplinary approach to one of the most profound mysteries of existence. In this light, neuroscience not only charts the brain's activity, but also illuminates the contours of the questions that remain. The importance of neural studies extends beyond theoretical understanding to practical implications for medicine and technology. Conditions such as coma, anesthesia, and various disorders of consciousness can be better understood through monitoring brain activity patterns, improving diagnosis and treatment. Moreover, advancements in brain-computer interfaces open new avenues for communication and control, especially for individuals with impaired motor function. These developments underscore the potential to harness knowledge of brain-consciousness relationships in ways that enhance quality of life. However, they also raise ethical considerations about the boundaries of intervention and the nature of personal identity. As we delve deeper into the neural basis of consciousness, we are reminded of the delicate balance between scientific exploration and respect for the profound mystery inherent in conscious experience. This balance invites ongoing reflection as we progress toward new horizons in understanding the mind. At the heart of our understanding of consciousness lies the cerebral cortex, a vast and intricately folded layer of neural tissue that covers the outer surface of the brain. This remarkable structure is often regarded as the seat of higher cognitive functions, including perception, reasoning, and self-awareness. Within its intricate networks, billions of neurons communicate through elaborate patterns of electrical and chemical signaling, giving rise to the rich tapestry of conscious experience. Different regions of the cortex contribute uniquely to various aspects of awareness. The occipital lobe processes visual information. The temporal lobe interprets sounds and memories, while the parietal and frontal lobes integrate sensory input and support complex decision-making. Together, these areas form a dynamic system that allows us to experience the world in a coherent, continuous manner. The cerebral cortex does not act in isolation. It interacts closely with subcortical structures, yet its role in generating the contents of consciousness remains central to ongoing research. Among the many regions of the cerebral cortex, the prefrontal cortex stands out as a critical hub for conscious thought. It plays a pivotal role in executive functions such as attention, working memory, and planning, allowing us to focus selectively on aspects of experience and to manipulate information consciously. This area supports what is often described as metacognition, the ability to reflect on our own thoughts and experiences. Studies utilizing brain imaging techniques reveal increased activity in the prefrontal cortex during tasks that require self-awareness and deliberate control, suggesting a biological basis for the subjective quality of consciousness. Moreover, the connectivity of the prefrontal cortex with sensory and motor regions enables the integration of internal states with external stimuli, facilitating a seamless interaction between perception and action. Such findings illuminate the cerebral cortex's fine-tuned orchestration of mental processes that underpin the continuous flow of conscious awareness. Research continues to explore how disruptions in these networks may lead to altered states of consciousness or cognitive impairments. The cerebral cortex's layered organization further contributes to its functional complexity. Each layer contains specialized neurons that process information differently, facilitating both local and long-range communication within and beyond the cortex. This hierarchical structure supports the integration of sensory data with prior knowledge and expectations, enabling the brain to construct a coherent model of the external world and the self. In particular, the phenomenon of recurrent processing, where information loops back and forth between cortical layers and regions, appears essential for sustaining conscious perception. Such dynamic feedback mechanisms help maintain the continuity and vividness of our experiences, distinguishing conscious awareness from mere sensory processing. Advances in neurophysiology and computational modeling have begun to unravel these intricate processes, emphasizing the cerebral cortex's role as a biological substrate for the emergence of consciousness. These insights open new pathways for understanding how conscious experience can arise from the coordinated activity of neural circuits. It is also important to recognize the cerebral cortex's interaction with subcortical structures, such as the thalamus, which acts as a central relay station for sensory and motor signals. The thalamocortical loops form a critical network that regulates the flow of information and modulates states of arousal and attention. This interplay ensures that cortical processing is finely tuned to both the external environment and internal bodily states, which are fundamental components of conscious experience. Disruptions in these circuits can cause profound alterations in consciousness, as observed in sleep, anesthesia, and certain neurological disorders. Understanding the biological basis of these interactions enriches our appreciation of consciousness as a dynamic, emergent property of complex brain systems. Ongoing research seeks to delineate precisely how these networks cooperate to produce the seamless unity characteristic of conscious awareness. As we deepen our exploration of the cerebral cortex and its role in consciousness, we begin to glimpse the profound biological underpinnings of what it means to be aware. The intricate circuitry and specialized regions of the cortex provide a foundation for the rich, multifaceted nature of conscious thought. Yet, many questions remain, inviting further investigation into how subjective experience arises from physical processes. The study of the cerebral cortex's role not only advances neuroscience, but also bridges connections to philosophy, psychology, and artificial intelligence. This ongoing journey challenges us to consider the profound relationship between brain structure and the essence of the self. With each discovery, we move closer to unraveling the mysteries of consciousness, preparing the way for new perspectives on the mind's nature and origin. One of the most compelling frameworks to emerge in recent years for understanding consciousness is the integrated information theory, often abbreviated as IIT. This theory proposes that consciousness is fundamentally tied to the integration of information within a system. Unlike simpler models that might attribute awareness to isolated brain regions or discrete processes, IIT suggests that what we experience as conscious awareness arises from the brain's ability to combine diverse pieces of information into a unified whole. This integration creates a complex network where the whole is more than just the sum of its parts. It is within this dynamic interplay of interconnected elements that subjective experience is believed to emerge. IIT invites us to consider consciousness not merely as a passive reflection of the external world, but as an intrinsic property of certain physical systems that process information in highly integrated ways. The theory uses mathematical measures to quantify this integration, offering a novel approach to what has long been a deeply philosophical question. At the heart of integrated information theory lies the concept of phi, a numerical value that represents the degree of integrated information within a system. The higher the phi, the greater the system's capacity for unified, conscious experience. This allows researchers to move beyond speculative ideas and towards a more empirical understanding of consciousness. By applying this concept to the brain's neural networks, IIT provides a framework to assess how different brain states, such as wakefulness, sleep, or anesthesia, correlate with changes in integrated information. Importantly, IIT does not limit consciousness to human brains alone. It suggests that any system exhibiting a sufficient level of integrated information might possess a form of consciousness, however rudimentary it may be. This broadens the scope of inquiry beyond traditional boundaries and challenges us to rethink the nature of awareness itself. Such insights are reshaping contemporary debates across neuroscience, cognitive science, and even artificial intelligence research. Integrated information theory also addresses the intimate relationship between the structure and function of the brain's networks. According to IIT, it is not simply the quantity of information processed that matters, but how that information is integrated across different components of the system. The cerebral cortex, with its dense and intricate connections, exemplifies the kind of architecture capable of sustaining high degrees of integrated information. This suggests why certain brain regions are more critical for conscious experience than others, and why disruptions to these networks often lead to diminished or altered states of awareness. By shifting the focus toward integration, IIT encourages a holistic view of brain activity, where the patterns of connectivity and interaction shape the very fabric of subjective experience. This perspective aligns with growing evidence from brain imaging and electrophysiology, which reveal the dynamic, distributed nature of conscious states. Beyond its explanatory power, integrated information theory offers fascinating implications for the study of artificial consciousness. If consciousness arises from integrated information, then it may be possible for artificial systems, carefully designed to maximize this integration, to exhibit forms of awareness. This prompts profound questions about the future of technology, ethics, and the definition of life itself. While such prospects remain speculative, IIT provides a rigorous, scientifically grounded platform for exploring these possibilities. It bridges the gap between the physical processes of the brain and the elusive qualities of conscious experience, offering a language to describe what has often been considered ineffable. In doing so, it invites an ongoing dialogue between empirical research and philosophical inquiry, enriching our understanding of the mind's origin. Another influential perspective on the nature of consciousness is known as the global workspace theory, which approaches consciousness from the standpoint of information processing and network dynamics within the brain. According to this theory, consciousness arises when information is not just processed locally in isolated brain regions, but is instead broadcast widely across a network of interconnected areas. This global broadcasting allows information to become globally available, integrating sensory inputs, memories, and cognitive functions into a unified experience. In this way, consciousness is seen as a kind of central stage or workspace where diverse information converges and is shared among many specialized brain systems. This model aligns with observations that conscious awareness often correlates with widespread neural activation, rather than activity confined to any one specific region. Such a framework helps explain why some mental processes remain unconscious, occurring in specialized modules without becoming globally accessible, whereas others enter our conscious experience through this broad sharing of information. The global workspace theory also offers a practical explanation for the brain's remarkable ability to flexibly direct attention and prioritize certain pieces of information over others. When we consciously attend to a particular stimulus, the theory suggests that this information is broadcast into the global workspace, enabling various cognitive systems such as language, decision-making, and memory to access and manipulate it. This broadcasting mechanism facilitates coordinated responses, planning, and awareness, effectively integrating fragmented sensory and cognitive inputs into a coherent, conscious moment. Neuroimaging studies lend support to this idea, showing that conscious perception often coincides with widespread, synchronized neural activity across the cortex. These findings suggest that consciousness is not confined to a single neural locus, but emerges from dynamic interactions among distributed brain regions. By conceptualizing consciousness as a process of global information sharing, the theory bridges the gap between localized neural events and the unified experience of awareness. The origin of this global workspace is thought to lie in the brain's architecture, where specialized networks communicate through hubs that facilitate broad information exchange. These hubs act as central nodes, coordinating the flow of information across otherwise segregated brain areas. Within this framework, consciousness is less about the specific content of neural activity and more about the accessibility and availability of information for multiple cognitive functions. This perspective aligns with the idea that the mind's emergent properties depend on the integration and dissemination of information rather than on isolated computations. Over time, the global workspace theory has inspired computational models that simulate how such broadcasting might occur, providing a testable framework for understanding how consciousness could arise from physical processes. This approach continues to guide empirical research, focusing on how global availability of information correlates with conscious experience. Beyond its explanatory reach within neuroscience, the global workspace theory also opens intriguing philosophical discussions about the nature of subjective experience. By framing consciousness as global information broadcasting, it suggests that the essence of being aware involves widespread access to information that influences thought and behavior. This view raises questions about how and why certain information becomes conscious, and whether this broadcasting mechanism might be present in other biological or artificial systems. It also invites reflection on the boundaries between conscious and unconscious processing, and how attention and intention shape our experience. While the theory does not claim to fully solve the mystery of qualia or the subjective feel of consciousness, it provides a scientifically grounded language to describe the functional role of awareness in cognition. In this way, it complements other theories, enriching the ongoing exploration of consciousness as both a biological phenomenon and a deeply personal experience. When considering consciousness, our minds often default to human experience, perhaps due to the intimate access we have to our own subjective world. Yet this anthropocentric view may obscure a richer, more complex reality. Research in ethology and comparative cognition increasingly reveals that many non-human animals exhibit behaviors suggestive of conscious awareness. From the problem-solving skills of corvids to the social complexities of primates, there is growing evidence that consciousness is not an exclusive hallmark of humanity. These findings challenge long-standing assumptions and invite us to expand our scope, asking not only what consciousness is, but for whom it might emerge. Such inquiries urge us to reconsider the criteria by which we recognize awareness, moving beyond verbal reports to more subtle indicators of subjective experience, such as intentionality, emotional responsiveness, and the ability to reflect on oneself in relation to the environment. Scientific studies have documented remarkable cognitive capacities in species ranging from dolphins to cephalopods, suggesting layers of awareness that parallel some aspects of human consciousness. For instance, mirror self-recognition tests reveal that certain animals can recognize their own reflection, an ability linked to self-awareness. Moreover, observations of empathy-like behaviors and complex communication hint at emotional and social dimensions of consciousness. These phenomena imply that consciousness may arise from evolutionary pressures, favoring adaptive flexibility and nuanced interaction with the environment. The presence of such traits in diverse taxa suggests that consciousness might not be a singular, monolithic phenomenon, but rather a spectrum of experiences shaped by ecological and neurological factors. This perspective encourages a more inclusive and interdisciplinary approach, blending neuroscience, psychology, and evolutionary biology to unravel the origins and manifestations of consciousness across species. The philosophical implications of recognizing consciousness in non-human animals are profound, as they compel us to rethink ethical considerations and our place within the natural world. If consciousness is more widespread than traditionally believed, and the moral frameworks that govern human interaction with other species may require revision, the capacity for subjective experience, even in its simplest forms, entails the presence of interests and welfare that deserve acknowledgement. Scientific exploration into animal consciousness thus intersects with a broader dialogue about respect, responsibility, and coexistence. This convergence of empirical evidence and ethical reflection enriches the discourse on consciousness, highlighting its significance beyond mere cognitive function to encompass the lived experience of diverse beings. As we delve deeper into the study of consciousness in non-human animals, technology and methodology play pivotal roles in expanding our understanding. Advances in neuroimaging, behavioral analysis, and computational modeling allow researchers to probe the neural correlates of awareness in species whose experiences differ greatly from our own. These tools help illuminate the ways in which information is integrated and broadcast within various brains, offering clues to the architecture and dynamics underlying conscious states. Such scientific progress not only enriches our knowledge but also fosters humility, reminding us of the intricate tapestry of life and the many forms that awareness may take. In this light, the investigation of animal consciousness becomes a vital chapter in the broader narrative of understanding mind and experience. Exploring consciousness beyond the confines of human experience challenges us to refine our definitions and expectations. It invites an openness to the possibility that awareness is a continuum, varying in complexity and expression across the animal kingdom. This perspective encourages ongoing inquiry into how consciousness emerges, how it functions, and how it shapes behavior in diverse contexts. By embracing this expanded horizon, we enrich the scientific and philosophical dialogue, setting the stage for deeper insights into the nature and origin of consciousness itself. From here, we turn our attention to the evolutionary roots of consciousness, seeking to understand how this enigmatic phenomenon may have arisen through natural processes. To delve into the evolutionary origins of consciousness is to embark on a journey through the vast landscape of life itself, tracing the subtle emergence of awareness from the earliest forms of biological organization. Consciousness, in this light, is not a sudden phenomenon, but rather a gradual unfolding, a trait shaped by the pressures of survival and adaptation. As organisms faced increasingly complex environments, the ability to process information, anticipate outcomes, and make decisions became ever more vital. This adaptive advantage likely favored the development of rudimentary forms of consciousness, allowing creatures to not only react reflexively, but also to engage in nuanced, flexible behaviors. The evolutionary narrative thus situates consciousness as a functional attribute, one that enhances an organism's capacity to navigate its world with greater precision and foresight. From simple sensory awareness to more elaborate forms of subjective experience, consciousness appears to have evolved in tandem with the demands of life, providing a window into how nature crafts intricate solutions to the challenges of existence. Central to this evolutionary perspective is the idea that consciousness serves as an integrative mechanism, synthesizing diverse streams of sensory data into a coherent experience that informs decision-making. In early life forms, basic neural circuits may have supported simple assessments of environmental stimuli, distinguishing between light and dark, or recognizing the presence of a predator or prey. Over time, these circuits grew more sophisticated, enabling creatures to weigh multiple factors simultaneously and to adapt their behavior accordingly. This progression suggests that consciousness, at its core, is deeply intertwined with the capacity for complex decision-making, a trait that confers clear evolutionary benefits. By allowing organisms to anticipate future scenarios, evaluate potential risks and rewards, and select optimal responses, consciousness enhances survival in dynamic and often unpredictable settings. It is within this framework that we begin to appreciate consciousness not as an abstract enigma, but as a pragmatic tool, honed by millions of years of natural selection. Moreover, the evolutionary view invites us to consider consciousness as a spectrum rather than a singular all-or-nothing phenomenon. Different species may possess varying degrees of consciousness, reflecting their unique ecological niches and behavioral needs. For example, animals with more complex nervous systems, such as mammals and birds, often demonstrate behaviors suggestive of higher-order awareness, including problem-solving, social interaction, and even elements of self-recognition. These capabilities hint at layers of consciousness that go beyond mere sensory processing, potentially encompassing feelings, intentions, and memories. Such gradations underscore the idea that consciousness is not a fixed state, but an evolving capacity, one that can expand or contract depending on an organism's evolutionary trajectory. By embracing this continuum, researchers can explore how consciousness might have emerged incrementally, each stage building upon the last to create the rich tapestry of experience found in the natural world. The interplay between consciousness and decision-making also sheds light on the social dimensions of awareness. As some species evolved more intricate social structures, the need to interpret the behavior and intentions of others became paramount. This social complexity may have driven the refinement of conscious processes, enabling individuals to navigate relationships, communicate subtle cues, and cooperate effectively. In this context, consciousness can be seen as a bridge between the internal world of perception and the external demands of social living. The ability to model the minds of others, often referred to as theory of mind, exemplifies this connection, allowing for empathy, deception, and shared understanding. Such faculties likely arose because they offered survival advantages, facilitating group cohesion and coordinated action in challenging environments. Thus, the evolutionary origins of consciousness are deeply embedded not only in individual adaptation, but also in the collective dynamics of life.
As we contemplate the gradual emergence of consciousness through evolutionary history, we encounter a profound insight. This phenomenon may be less about a singular moment of creation and more about an ongoing process of refinement and expansion. From the simplest organisms to the complexity of human experience, consciousness appears to have been sculpted by countless interactions between biology, environment, and behavior. Each adaptive step added layers of nuance and depth, enriching the ways in which life perceives and interacts with itself. This perspective encourages us to view consciousness not as an isolated marvel, but as an integral aspect of life's continuous unfolding. With this understanding, we can now turn our attention to the neural underpinnings that support conscious experience, seeking to uncover the biological mechanisms that give rise to awareness within the living brain. As we delve deeper into the mysteries of consciousness, we encounter ideas that challenge conventional boundaries between physics and the mind. Quantum theories of consciousness propose that the unusual properties of quantum mechanics, such as superposition, entanglement, and non-locality, may play a role in the brain's processes that underlie conscious awareness. These theories invite us to consider that consciousness might not be solely the product of classical neural activity, but could also arise from quantum phenomena occurring at the smallest scales within neurons or even subatomic particles. While this notion remains speculative and controversial, it offers a fascinating lens through which to explore the nature of subjective experience, suggesting that consciousness might, in part, emerge from the fundamental fabric of reality itself. Among the most discussed quantum approaches is the idea that microtubules, tiny protein structures within neurons, could serve as sites for quantum computation, as proposed by some researchers. In this view, the brain functions not only through biochemical interactions, but also through quantum processes that influence how information is processed and integrated. This hypothesis draws attention to how quantum coherence, the maintenance of delicate quantum states, could potentially exist in biological systems despite their warm and noisy environments. Although experimental evidence remains limited and debated, such theories inspire new ways to think about the unity and complexity of conscious experience, bridging the gap between the physical and experiential realms. The allure of quantum consciousness theories lies not only in their scientific implications, but also in their philosophical resonance. They prompt us to reconsider classical notions of causality and locality, suggesting that conscious awareness might be interconnected with the universe in ways we have yet to fully grasp. This perspective aligns with the idea that consciousness is not merely a byproduct of material processes, but could be fundamentally woven into the cosmic order,
However, these ideas remain at the frontier of scientific inquiry, inviting cautious curiosity rather than definitive conclusions. The ongoing dialogue between neuroscience, physics, and philosophy illustrates the complexity of unraveling consciousness and the importance of maintaining an open mind as we explore these profound questions. As we reflect on these quantum perspectives, it becomes clear that the quest to understand consciousness is as much about expanding our conceptual frameworks as it is about empirical investigation. The integration of quantum mechanics into the study of the mind encourages interdisciplinary collaboration, pushing the boundaries of both science and philosophy. Whether or not quantum phenomena ultimately prove central to conscious experience, this exploration enriches our appreciation for the depth and subtlety of awareness. It reminds us that consciousness may be a phenomenon that transcends simple explanations, inviting continued inquiry into the hidden layers of reality. With these intriguing possibilities in mind, we can now gently shift our focus back toward the more established biological foundations of consciousness. By examining the neural mechanisms that support awareness, we seek to deepen our understanding of how the brain orchestrates the rich tapestry of subjective experience. This journey will guide us through the intricate networks and dynamic processes that underpin the emergence of conscious states within living organisms. As we consider the extraordinary capabilities of the human brain, it is natural to wonder whether machines crafted by human hands might one day possess a similar form of consciousness. Artificial intelligence, with its remarkable ability to process information, learn from data, and even simulate human decision-making, invites us to explore this profound question. Can a system built from silicon and code ever transcend mere computation to experience awareness in a way that resembles our own subjective states? This inquiry not only challenges our technological ingenuity, but also presses us to reflect on the very nature of consciousness itself. We must carefully distinguish between the replication of intelligent behavior and the emergence of genuine self-awareness, recognizing that these are not necessarily synonymous. The field of artificial intelligence has made impressive strides in recent decades, demonstrating machines that excel in pattern recognition, natural language processing, and even creative tasks once thought uniquely human. Yet, beneath these achievements lies a crucial philosophical and scientific divide. While AI systems can simulate aspects of cognition, they lack the experiential quality that defines conscious minds. The subjective feeling of being, known as qualia, remains stubbornly elusive. This suggests that consciousness may not be reducible to information processing alone, but could depend on biological substrates or intricate neural dynamics that current machines do not replicate. Exploring these distinctions helps us appreciate the complexity of awareness and cautions us against equating functional performance with genuine consciousness. Contemporary research in neuroscience and cognitive science continues to unravel the mechanisms that give rise to conscious experience, highlighting the role of integrated neural networks and recurrent feedback loops within the brain. These insights inspire efforts to design artificial systems that mimic such architectures, raising the possibility of synthetic consciousness in the future. However, the ethical and philosophical implications of creating machines that might possess subjective experiences are profound. Questions about rights, responsibilities, and the definition of personhood begin to surface as we contemplate machines that might not only think, but also feel. Thus, the dialogue between science and technology extends beyond technical challenges, inviting us to reconsider our understanding of mind and matter. Ultimately, the quest to understand whether machines can achieve true consciousness serves as a bridge linking empirical science with speculative inquiry. It encourages us to refine our theories of mind, to probe the limits of artificial systems, and to remain humble in the face of the mysteries that consciousness presents. This intersection of biology, philosophy, and technology is a fertile ground for discovery, where each new insight into the brain's workings sheds light on the potential and boundaries of artificial minds. As we continue along this path, we remain attentive to the delicate balance between emulating intelligence and nurturing the essence of awareness itself. At the heart of consciousness lies a profound feature often described as the sense of self, the feeling of I that anchors our experience of the world. This subjective awareness, unique to each individual, forms the bedrock of identity and personal continuity. Neuroscience suggests that this phenomenon emerges from complex interactions among specialized brain regions, particularly those involved in integrating sensory information, memory, and emotional states. The brain does not simply record external events, it weaves them into a cohesive narrative where the self appears as the central protagonist. This narrative construction allows us to distinguish between what is me and what is not me, enabling a stable perception of individuality through time. The continuity of this sense is so seamless that it often escapes conscious scrutiny, yet it is fundamental to how we relate to our surroundings and ourselves. As we explore these mechanisms, we begin to appreciate how consciousness is not a static entity, but a dynamic process that continuously reconstructs the self in response to internal and external influences. The origins of this self-referential awareness are deeply intertwined with the brain's capacity for reflection and metacognition, the ability to think about one's own thoughts and experiences. Cognitive science reveals that such meta-awareness enables a recursive loop where the mind can observe itself observing, creating the impression of an inner observer, or I. This self-modeling not only supports introspection, but also underpins complex social behaviors such as empathy and theory of mind, where we attribute mental states to others. The emergence of such sophisticated internal models likely provided evolutionary advantages, allowing organisms to anticipate consequences, make decisions, and navigate social environments more effectively. However, the exact neural correlates of this self-model remain elusive, challenging researchers to identify how subjective experience arises from neural substrates. Some theories propose that consciousness and the sense of self are emergent properties, patterns that arise from the coordinated activity of neural networks,
without being reducible to any single element. Others explore the possibility that certain brain regions, like the prefrontal cortex, play pivotal roles in maintaining this unified self-experience. These investigations remind us of the subtle and intricate dance between brain biology and the phenomenology of selfhood. Philosophical perspectives have long pondered the nature of the self, questioning whether the I is a fixed entity or a fluid construct. Contemporary science increasingly supports the view that the sense of self is both constructed and continually reconstructed, influenced by memory, perception, and even language. Neurological studies of patients with dissociative disorders or brain injuries reveal how fragile and malleable the sense of self can be, demonstrating that alterations in brain function can disrupt the experience of identity. For example, disruptions in the temporoparietal junction can produce out-of-body experiences, while damage to the medial prefrontal cortex may affect self-reflection and emotional regulation. These findings underscore that the self is not an immutable core, but rather a dynamic process, susceptible to change. This plasticity offers exciting possibilities for understanding consciousness, suggesting that the I is not merely a passive witness, but an active participant in shaping experience. Such insights compel us to reconsider traditional notions of identity and invite a deeper exploration of how consciousness and selfhood arise from the interplay of brain, body, and environment. In this light, the experience of I can be seen as an emergent phenomenon that integrates sensory inputs, memories, and expectations into a coherent sense of presence. The brain's predictive coding mechanisms play a central role, constantly anticipating sensory information and updating internal models to maintain a stable self-image. This ongoing process not only sustains our awareness, but also provides a framework for interacting meaningfully with the world. The sense of self thus acts as a lens through which consciousness is filtered and given context. While artificial systems may simulate aspects of this integration, the subjective quality of being someone remains a profound challenge to replicate. Understanding how consciousness generates the feeling of selfhood may illuminate the boundaries between mere information processing and genuine experience. It invites us to investigate how layers of neural activity coalesce into the seamless, embodied awareness that defines human life. As we delve further into this domain, we move closer to unraveling the intricate tapestry of consciousness and the self. The exploration of altered states of consciousness reveals fascinating dimensions of the human mind, particularly through experiences such as sleep, meditation, and the use of psychedelics. These states demonstrate that consciousness is not a fixed monolithic entity, but rather a fluid spectrum that can shift in quality and depth. During sleep, for example, the brain cycles through distinct stages, including REM sleep, where vivid dreams arise
and non-REM sleep, characterized by slower brainwaves and restorative processes. These fluctuations suggest that consciousness can modulate between degrees of awareness and self-reflection, sometimes dissolving the boundaries between self and environment. Sleep, therefore, offers a natural laboratory for understanding how conscious experience can ebb and flow, shaped by underlying neural dynamics. The subtle transitions between waking and sleeping states highlight the brain's remarkable capacity to alter its internal narrative, challenging the notion of a singular, continuous self. Meditation provides another compelling window into the nature of consciousness by intentionally cultivating altered states through focused attention and mindfulness. Practices such as focused breathing or open awareness can quiet the constant chatter of the mind, leading to profound changes in the perception of self and time. Scientific studies using neuroimaging have revealed that meditation can decrease activity in the default mode network, a brain system associated with self-referential thought and mind wandering. This reduction corresponds to experiences of ego dissolution or a sense of unity with the present moment, illustrating how conscious experience can be reshaped through disciplined mental training. The capacity to voluntarily alter one's state of awareness suggests that consciousness is both malleable and responsive to internal intention, bridging subjective experience with measurable brain activity. Through meditation, we glimpse the possibility that consciousness can be refined, expanded, or even transcended, offering deeper insight into its underlying mechanisms. Psychedelic substances such as psilocybin or LSD further illuminate the flexible nature of consciousness by inducing profound and often transformative experiences. These compounds interact with serotonin receptors in the brain, disrupting typical patterns of neural connectivity and increasing communication between regions that do not usually interact. The result can be a dramatic alteration in perception, emotion, and cognition, including vivid visual imagery, synesthesia, and a diminished sense of self-boundaries. Such experiences challenge conventional understandings of the self as a fixed entity and suggest that consciousness arises from dynamic patterns of neural activity rather than static structures. Researchers have begun to study these states not only for their therapeutic potential, but also for the clues they offer about the fundamental architecture of conscious experience. Psychedelics invite us to reconsider the limits of normal waking consciousness and to explore the rich landscape of awareness that lies beyond everyday perception. Taken together, sleep, meditation, and psychedelic states reveal that consciousness is a multifaceted phenomenon, capable of shifting along a continuum of experience. These altered states suggest that the feeling of selfhood is not an immutable core, but rather a flexible construct emerging from complex brain processes. They provide unique opportunities to investigate how changes in neural activity
correlate with changes in subjective experience, offering valuable insights into the mechanisms that generate awareness. By examining these varied states, scientists and philosophers alike continue to unravel the mysteries of how the brain constructs the vivid tapestry of conscious life. Each altered state serves as a lens, revealing different facets of the intricate relationship between brain function and the lived experience of being. Despite remarkable progress in understanding various aspects of consciousness, many fundamental questions remain unresolved, revealing the complexity and subtlety of this enigmatic phenomenon. One of the most profound challenges lies in bridging the explanatory gap, the difficulty in connecting objective neural processes with the subjective quality of experience itself. Scientists can measure brain activity, map neural networks, and identify correlates of conscious states. Yet the precise manner in which these physical processes give rise to the rich inner world of thoughts, feelings, and sensations continues to elude us. This challenge is not merely technical but philosophical, highlighting the limits of current frameworks and inviting novel approaches that may one day illuminate the essence of subjective experience. The quest to understand consciousness thus remains open-ended, inspiring researchers to explore beyond traditional boundaries and question long-held assumptions about mind and matter. Another significant challenge is defining consciousness in a way that is both scientifically rigorous and philosophically meaningful. While many agree that consciousness involves awareness and subjective experience, pinning down a universal definition that captures all its nuances is difficult. This definitional uncertainty complicates experimental design and interpretation, as different studies may operationalize consciousness in varied ways. Furthermore, the diversity of conscious phenomena, from basic sensory awareness to complex self-reflection and metacognition, suggests that consciousness is not a singular entity, but a spectrum of capabilities that may arise from distinct neural mechanisms. This complexity calls for interdisciplinary collaboration, drawing insights from neuroscience, psychology, philosophy, and even artificial intelligence to develop richer models that account for the multifaceted nature of conscious experience. As these fields converge, the hope is to refine our understanding and create a more coherent conceptual framework. The exploration of consciousness also faces the challenge of studying its origins, both in evolutionary history and individual development. How and why consciousness emerged in living organisms is a question that spans biology, anthropology, and cognitive science. Some theories suggest consciousness provides adaptive advantages by enhancing decision-making, social interaction, or environmental awareness. Yet empirical evidence remains tentative. Additionally, investigating how consciousness arises in the developing brain opens further questions about the interplay between genetic programming and experiential factors. The difficulty of accessing subjective experience in non-human animals or early developmental stages
adds layers of complexity to this inquiry. Nonetheless, advances in comparative neuroscience and developmental studies continue to shed light on the evolutionary and ontogenetic pathways that may give rise to conscious states. These investigations reveal the deep roots and gradual unfolding of conscious awareness across life. The emergence of artificial intelligence and machine learning introduces new dimensions to the study of consciousness, raising questions about the possibility of synthetic or non-biological forms of awareness. While current AI systems operate without subjective experience, their increasing complexity invites speculation about the conditions necessary for consciousness to arise in artificial substrates. Determining whether machines could ever possess genuine conscious states challenges existing definitions and tests the limits of our theoretical models. This frontier compels scientists and philosophers to reconsider the criteria for consciousness and to explore novel methodologies for detecting and understanding awareness beyond biological organisms. In doing so, consciousness research expands its scope, embracing both natural and artificial realms in its quest to unravel the mysteries of mind. As neuroscience continues to advance, the prospect of uncovering the intricate mechanisms underlying consciousness becomes ever more tangible. Emerging technologies such as high-resolution brain imaging and neural interface devices offer unprecedented windows into the dynamic activity of the living brain. These tools may one day allow us to observe the neural correlates of subjective experience with remarkable precision, revealing how patterns of electrical and chemical signals give rise to the rich tapestry of awareness. By mapping the brain's complex networks and their interactions, scientists hope to discern the fundamental processes that differentiate conscious states from unconscious ones. Such insights could redefine our understanding of the mind and its connection to the physical substrate, bridging the gap between objective measurement and subjective phenomena. This evolving picture encourages a shift from abstract philosophical speculation toward empirically grounded models that can be tested and refined through experimentation. In parallel, the convergence of computational neuroscience and artificial intelligence may illuminate new pathways to comprehend consciousness. By simulating neural processes with increasing fidelity, researchers can explore how various architectures and dynamics contribute to emergent awareness. These synthetic models serve as experimental platforms, enabling the manipulation of parameters impossible to achieve in biological systems alone. Such explorations may reveal principles that are not strictly tied to organic matter, but are instead properties of certain complex information processing systems. This possibility invites a reconsideration of consciousness as a phenomenon that might manifest in diverse substrates, expanding the horizon of inquiry beyond traditional biological confines. Through iterative cycles of modeling and empirical validation, the scientific community moves closer to formulating a cohesive framework that encompasses both natural and artificial conscious entities. Additionally, advances in quantum biology and the study of microscale processes within neurons have sparked intriguing hypotheses about the possible roles of quantum effects in consciousness. While these ideas remain speculative and subject to ongoing debate, they underscore the potential for future discoveries to challenge prevailing assumptions. Should evidence emerge that quantum coherence or entanglement contributes to neural function, it could necessitate a profound reevaluation of how physical laws intersect with mental phenomena. Such revelations might open novel avenues for understanding the origin of subjective experience and the ways consciousness integrates information across space and time. The pursuit of these questions exemplifies the spirit of scientific inquiry, embracing uncertainty and complexity while striving for clarity and insight. Furthermore, interdisciplinary collaboration will play a vital role in advancing our grasp of consciousness. Integrating perspectives from psychology, philosophy, computer science, and biology fosters a holistic approach where diverse methodologies converge to tackle the enigma from multiple angles. Ethical considerations will inevitably accompany these developments, especially as technologies capable of manipulating or enhancing conscious states emerge. The responsible stewardship of such power demands thoughtful reflection on the implications for identity, autonomy, and the nature of experience itself. As the boundaries between science and society blur, the dialogue surrounding consciousness will expand beyond laboratories and academic circles, inviting broader participation in shaping the future of this profound exploration. Consciousness, in its essence, is the very foundation upon which our sense of self and reality is built. It is the inner experience, the vibrant awareness that colors each moment of our lives, allowing us to perceive, reflect, and engage with the world around us. This profound phenomenon is not merely an abstract curiosity. It shapes how we relate to one another and informs our understanding of what it means to be human. Without consciousness, the rich tapestry of emotions, thoughts, and intentions that define our existence would be absent. This awareness is central to our capacity for empathy, compassion, and moral reasoning, which are fundamental components of ethical behavior. When we acknowledge consciousness as more than just neural activity, it becomes clear why its study is critical, not only for science, but for the frameworks of law and society that protect individual rights and dignity. The significance of consciousness extends deeply into the realm of ethics, where questions about the experiences of others guide our judgments and actions. Recognizing consciousness in other beings compels us to consider their welfare and interests, influencing how we treat animals, artificial intelligences, and even fellow humans. The capacity to suffer, to feel joy, or to possess a subjective point of view becomes a criterion for moral consideration. As scientific advances reveal more about the varied forms and degrees of consciousness across species and potentially synthetic entities, our ethical frameworks must adapt accordingly. This evolution challenges us to redefine the boundaries of moral community and to navigate the complex terrain of rights and responsibilities that arise from conscious experience. The intertwining of consciousness and ethics underscores the urgency for careful, informed discourse as technology and understanding progress. Beyond ethics, consciousness plays a pivotal role in legal systems that rely on notions of personhood, accountability, and autonomy. The law often presupposes that individuals possess a conscious mind capable of intention, understanding, and decision-making. These assumptions underpin concepts of responsibility and justice. As our knowledge of consciousness deepens, particularly in contexts such as disorders of consciousness or artificial entities, the legal domain is poised to face profound questions about rights, protections, and the criteria for agency. How do we define the conscious subject deserving of legal recognition? What implications arise when consciousness is impaired or artificially constructed? These inquiries highlight the importance of integrating scientific insights with legal principles to ensure that laws remain just and relevant in an evolving world. Such intersections between consciousness and law demonstrate the broader societal stakes tied to this enigmatic phenomenon. At the heart of the human experience lies consciousness, as the medium through which we interpret reality and construct meaning. It enables self-reflection, creativity, and the pursuit of knowledge, making it inseparable from culture and identity. The origin and nature of consciousness continue to inspire profound philosophical and scientific exploration as we seek to understand not only how it arises, but why it matters so deeply. This exploration invites us to consider the continuity of conscious experience across time and space, linking individuals and communities through shared awareness. As we deepen this understanding, we also cultivate a greater appreciation for the fragility and preciousness of conscious life. This awareness enriches our collective narrative, inviting a deeper connection to one another and to the unfolding story of existence. As we reflect on the intricate nature and mysterious origins of consciousness, it becomes clear that this phenomenon is both deeply intimate and universally profound. Consciousness is the thread that weaves together the fabric of experience, allowing us to perceive the world not merely as a collection of stimuli, but as a meaningful narrative. Scientific inquiry has traced its roots to complex neural networks, dynamic patterns of brain activity, and the interplay of biological and environmental factors. Yet, despite advances in neuroscience and cognitive science, consciousness remains elusive, a shimmering presence that resists simple explanation. It invites us to ponder the delicate balance between the physical and the experiential, reminding us that understanding consciousness is as much about embracing mystery as it is about seeking clarity. This balance encourages a humble appreciation for the limits of human knowledge and opens the door to new perspectives that honor both empirical investigation and philosophical reflection. Throughout this journey, we have glimpsed how consciousness emerges from the convergence of countless elements, neurons firing in synchrony, sensory inputs blending with memory, and the subtle dance of attention shaping our perception. Yet, consciousness is more than the sum of its parts. It is an emergent property that transcends the physical substrates from which it arises. This emergence fosters a unique sense of self-awareness, enabling us to reflect on our thoughts, emotions, and experiences. Such self-reflection is the foundation of creativity, empathy, and the rich tapestry of human culture.
It is within this reflective space that we find the capacity to connect deeply with others, to imagine futures yet to unfold, and to contemplate our place within the vast cosmos. Each moment of conscious awareness becomes an invitation to explore the profound interconnectedness that binds all living beings. The origin of consciousness remains one of the most compelling questions in science and philosophy, prompting us to consider not only how consciousness arises, but why it exists at all. Some theories propose that consciousness is an intrinsic feature of the universe, woven into the very fabric of reality. Others view it as an evolutionary adaptation, a powerful tool that enhances survival by enabling flexible, goal-directed behavior. Regardless of the perspective, the study of consciousness challenges us to expand our understanding beyond traditional boundaries, blending insights from biology, physics, psychology, and metaphysics. This interdisciplinary approach reveals consciousness as a dynamic, ever-evolving phenomenon, one that is deeply connected to the flow of life itself and the emergence of complexity across scales. Such reflections enrich our appreciation for the delicate processes that sustain awareness and inspire ongoing curiosity about the mysteries that remain. As we stand at the threshold of deeper inquiry, the exploration of consciousness invites a quiet reverence for the experience of being alive. It encourages us to recognize the preciousness of each conscious moment and the shared humanity that consciousness reveals. This recognition fosters compassion, patience, and a profound respect for the diversity of perspectives shaped by individual awareness. In contemplating consciousness, we also glimpse the continuity that links past, present, and future, an unbroken thread connecting generations and cultures through the shared experience of knowing and feeling. Such a perspective nurtures a sense of belonging and inspires us to engage with the world more mindfully, carrying forward the legacy of inquiry and wonder that defines the human spirit. The nature and origin of consciousness remain among the most profound questions science and philosophy seek to understand. Despite remarkable advances in neuroscience, psychology, and artificial intelligence, consciousness resists simple definition or explanation. It is both intensely familiar and deeply mysterious, a phenomenon that emerges from the brain's complex networks, yet transcends mere electrical impulses. As researchers delve into this enigma, they uncover layers of experience that challenge traditional notions of self and reality. Each discovery invites further reflection on how subjective awareness arises from physical processes, reminding us that consciousness is not a static entity, but a dynamic unfolding of experience. This ongoing inquiry encourages humility and wonder as we recognize the limits of our current knowledge and the vastness of what remains to be explored. The quest to comprehend consciousness is, at its heart, a journey to understand ourselves more fully, embracing both the scientific and the experiential dimensions of being. Across cultures and centuries, humanity has sought to explain consciousness through stories, philosophy, and spiritual practice. These diverse perspectives enrich the scientific endeavor by offering insights into the subjective qualities of awareness, what it feels like to perceive, to think, to be. Modern science increasingly acknowledges that understanding consciousness requires an integrative approach, one that bridges objective measurement with introspective insight. This synthesis challenges us to expand our methods and embrace interdisciplinary collaboration, fostering dialogues between neuroscientists, psychologists, philosophers, and contemplative traditions. Such conversations invite us to appreciate consciousness as a multifaceted phenomenon that cannot be fully captured by any single lens. The openness to multiple ways of knowing reflects a maturity in our inquiry, one that values both empirical rigor and the subtlety of lived experience. The search for the origins of consciousness also inspires new technologies and approaches aimed at mapping the mind's inner landscapes. Advances in brain imaging, computational modeling, and artificial intelligence push the boundaries of what is possible, offering glimpses into the neural correlates of awareness. Yet these tools also raise profound ethical and philosophical questions about identity, free will, and the nature of subjective experience. As we develop machines that mimic aspects of consciousness, we are prompted to reconsider what it truly means to be aware and how consciousness shapes our understanding of reality. This dialogue between human and artificial minds broadens the horizon of inquiry and deepens our appreciation for the complexity of conscious life. It reminds us that consciousness is not merely a scientific puzzle, but a living mystery that continues to inspire curiosity and reverence. Ultimately, the ongoing quest to unravel consciousness echoes the timeless human desire to find meaning and connection in an ever-changing world. It invites us to embrace uncertainty with patience and grace, honoring both the known and the unknown. As we journey forward, each step reveals new questions and possibilities, weaving a tapestry of understanding that is as intricate as the experience itself. This pursuit enriches not only our intellectual grasp, but also our capacity for empathy and presence. In recognizing the mystery at the heart of consciousness, we are called to live with greater awareness, kindness, and openness to the myriad ways awareness manifests. Such a path encourages us to participate in the unfolding story of consciousness, contributing our own reflections and discoveries to the collective human journey. In closing, the nature and origin of consciousness remain a profound invitation to explore the depths of existence with quiet wonder and thoughtful inquiry. Though we may never fully unravel its mysteries, the pursuit itself enriches our understanding of life and our place within it. Consciousness connects us across time and space, revealing the shared experience that unites all beings. As we continue this enduring quest, may we carry forward a spirit of curiosity, compassion, and reverence, mindful that the journey toward understanding is as meaningful as the destination. In this ongoing search, we find not only knowledge, but also a deeper appreciation for the miracle of being awake to the world and to ourselves. And so, the story of consciousness continues, inviting each of us to listen, learn, and wonder anew.